Greetings, Patrick here, Eight Questions With, and welcome to the show. It's Tuesday, and beautiful day here in Michigan. Um, Warm and sunny. Perfect day to do it, to be inside and doing a show with you guys today. Glad to be here, and today we're welcoming back our friend Austin Galante back to the show. Now, last time we talked to Austin, he had done Killing Sweet, Killing. Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't know what it is lately, but uh, Sweet Killing Machines. That's right. So today he will be here and he'll talk about his new film, which is called Sanguine Teeth on a Driftless Road. And I gotta tell you right off the bat that this is fucking outstanding. I'll be honest with you. I just want to get it out of the way. I love this movie. I thought it was smart, irreverent. Um, the writing is top drawer. It really is top drawer. Uh, well acted. Um, yeah. He might set the he might he my only I think it's just great. There's a couple of bumps and bruises in there, but I'm going to be reviewing this film, and I'll talk about that there. But as far as Sanguine Teeth it goes, yeah, this is outstanding. I really like this quite a bit, and we'll have a lot to talk about. We'll have a lot to talk about with Austin about the film. Um, hey, Direwolf, welcome back. Welcome back. Glad you're here. Thank you for your comment. Anthony will be Anthony. Hey, Anthony. Austin will be here in about 15 minutes, and we're gonna get a cracking. And I think you guys are gonna really enjoy tonight quite a bit. Um, all right. Well, good news is that I finally was able to snap my 3 week losing streak at the library. So I was able to go to the library today, and it was interesting. It was really interesting. They are calling out a lot of their old titles. They had already done it before with TV shows. Now they're doing the individual movies, and wow, that was sensational. I picked up quite a few today um, that were there. I was really surprised to see how many they had. Including a couple of ISC films which I didn't have, which I was really glad to find. That always makes me happy. Um, but it was good coming. It was good coming back. It was like, man, 3 weeks, and the weather's been really improving too. So I started thinking, well, I should be seeing some yard sale signs going up soon. But as of yet, I have not seen anything. But I'm sure there will be up this weekend. Um, so that was fun. Plus, we had some friend mail. We have friend mail. Our good friend Mary Wilson, from the ISC Midnight Show. She sent me some movies, and I put that as well as the library hall on the channel. You guys can go check that out. Um, all right. So May is going to be a little bit different. I have some shows lined up in May, but I'm only going to be going like partial. I'm only going to do like a half a month. Um, I'll tell you who we got coming up here. But I'm probably just gonna do maybe halfway through the month, and I'm gonna take the rest of May off. I'm just quite honestly, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling like chasing it down, and putting guests on it. I'm just not really feeling it this year. So I might get one more guest in here on the 14th, and I'm probably gonna cut it right there. Um, But I'll tell you who we got tomorrow night. We have for the last show of the month. We have actress uh, uh, Alina Desmond will be here tomorrow, and she will be here tomorrow. She'll be our last show and of the month, and then May 1st we have Christian singer songwriter Brian Elder. He'll be here. Brian's a really nice guy. I've talked to him before. and so glad to see that he's still working, still in the entertainment business. Um, and we'll catch up with him and see what he's been up to. I know he's recorded a couple of albums, so we're talking about that. Okay, so that'll be on Thursday, May 1st. Um, then on the 5th of May, we will be happening. Tim and Tom Gross will be back with us. The two brothers run Gross Fest every summer, as we are moving into convention season. Um, and so we're going to catch up with the Gross brothers. Now they already had their convention set. They already have their convention set, and I dare say that and I'm so excited for them, because they're going to have a hell of a convention. This year's going to be fun, really, really fun, and I dare say that me and the cheetah were able to have just a whisker of influence. Uh, we we just asked, hey, can you put this person. They were supposed to be going next year, but they got on this year. I'm so happy to see that because conventions are important, and getting on, getting as many as you can. When you can get them, you know, yeah, you want to see the up and comers get convention slots. So very excited for that. And we're gonna hold off on naming names until we tell the show. But I can tell you, um, yeah, if you're an indie horror fan, Growth Fest is the place you want to go to. If you have one convention you want to go to during the summer, now their convention does run a little late. I mean, it doesn't come on till I believe August. But so what? We're going to be talking all about their show, how they went around booking it. We're going to be talking about the burnout too. I've been seeing a lot more this year, more than any other year so far since the pandemic lifted. People are sort of like they're sort of resisting the conventions. They're sort of like noticing how the prices are just skyrocketing every year, and some people are like, "Yeah, how much more can you charge us?" And they're not coming out. Um, I think we're going to see a lot of the smaller conventions that are, because everybody wants to do a convention. Um, they think they see stars in front of their eyes and cash in the cash registers, but as any promoter will tell you, running a convention is a costly endeavor. It is not easy. You really gotta, and you really, your lifeblood is really to make your convention a success. Is that you got to have a great team and great volunteers to make it work. But we're going to talk to the Gross brothers about the state of conventions, if they're seeing that, if they're hearing that among their peers, that ticket sales are, how are they going to handle ticket sales? Are people getting burned out from conventions? I mean, I know a couple of friends who love conventions, and this year they said they're only doing one this summer, whereas they would do three or four. They said they're just going to be doing one because it's just too damn expensive. So we'll be talking with Tim and Tom on the 5th. On the 6th of May, we rescheduled our interview with Robert Lasardo, and he'll be here on May 6th. And we will be talking all things Robert Lasardo. And believe me, we'll be here all day because Robert Lasardo is worth talking about all day. Um, he has an incredible body of work. Um, once you see him, you'll say, "I know that face. I know that guy. He's in everything that I can think of." He's sort of like the horror movie version, or the gritty version of Eric Roberts. That guy is in everything, and he delivers in everything. That's the thing. He delivers. I first became aware of Robert Lasardo, like that guy put on a hell of a show in a movie called Silencer. Now, I'm sure I have seen him sometime before that, but I just didn't know who he was at the time. Then once you start watching, all of a sudden you realize that, man, he's been in everything. But he has written and produced and directed a movie called American Trash, and we're going to be talking about that too. It's going to be an interesting discussion, and I definitely feel like it's going to be a real challenge for me to come up with some really good questions for Robert because um, I'm sure he's been asked a lot of, sure he's been asked a lot of the same questions as long as he's been in the business. So I definitely will be here looking to ask him some good questions. So I'm looking forward to this. It's a real honor. It's a Grail guest. It's one of the guests I have written down. Like if I could get him on the show, like that'd be awesome. And we have, so that's amazing. So he'll be here on Tuesday, May 6th. Uh, and then on May 7th, Wednesday, we will be talking with Joe Leone and his one of his new actresses, one of the actresses that he found, Remy Eve. They'll be here and talking about their new film, Joe's new film called "Greet Your Demons." Um, that's a really fascinating movie too. Really interesting movie. It's different. It's really different. But Jesus, if he hasn't done it again, I have mentioned this over and over that Joe Leone he finds some amazing talent. Um, he just does. Every movie we bring him on to talk about is he's found somebody super cool, and definitely you can't keep eyes off of. He has done it again with Greet Your Demons. He's got two of them this time. Remy, oh boy, Eva, and Adrian Loren. Both those two are just absolutely knockouts. And it's a heavy subject, and the movie is interesting too. It's definitely the structure of the film is definitely it's a little bit different than I thought. I had my feelings. I looked like it was going to go one way, but it switched up, and interesting way that it did it. Um, and Man, someone needs to give Joe Leone some money. I mean, he needs to get like a project. I've seen that before, where a director has come out there and done a low budget movie, and the first thing you sit there and say, give that guy a budget because he will tear shit up. And that's Joe. Uh, he gets the most out of his budget, but it makes you just like, man, what would happen if someone gave him $1 million? He just tears shit up. Hell, Austin Galante could tear shit up with $1 million. I'd like to see what he could do with that kind of budget. Both these young filmmakers are just, yeah, two of the best, two of the best that we've had on our show, and just terrific to see. And Joe will be here with Remy on the 7th at 8 o'clock. Oh, the Brian Elder show, for those who are watching our replay. That show's going to start at 8:30. 8:30. We have a special start time at 8:30, not our normal 8 o'clock, but 8:30. And then we had to postpone our watch along party on May 10th because our co-host Gabriella, she got a job. She got a job, and so she is going out to fly out and shoot a movie. But we will get her back and reschedule our watch party for She Is Love, featuring the lovely and very talented Haley Bennett. All right, the doorbell has rang, so that must be Austin is here. So thank you for everybody who's here. Thank you everybody who's going to come in a little later. Thank you for everybody who's doing a replay. Thank you so much, and here we go.
Hello.
Greetings.
How are you?
Good. So I cut loose before when I first signed on here. I was gonna try to save this, but I just couldn't do it, man. I just had to just cut loose on my initial feelings of watching Sanguine Teeth on a Driftless Road, and
Is that good or bad?
son of a bit, son of a bitch. If you haven't done it again, that is one a hell of a movie,
Well, I
and
appreciate that.
that is so. I saw the runtime. The runtime when I saw it, it says 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I go like, that's a long time. That's a long. It's like for an indie. I mean, you think of that's really long, and I'm going,
Yeah,
boy, but to your great credit, it flies. It it flies.
thank you.
I absolutely love this movie.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
yeah, what the only thing I kept on thinking of, and we mentioned this before, and it's like, to all the slappies out there that are slaves to Tarantino. I say, go watch Sweet Killing Machine. Now go watch Sanguine Teeth. That is film writing. That is screenwriting. That is, because you're out Tarantino, Quentin. Every time I watch a movie, a filmmaker such as yourself at work, and then I hear people talk about him, and I realize how much better. It well actually shows me how poor of a writer he is. I know it's I know. His writing, I mean, for what it is, compared to what you put down for Sanguine, just it's brilliant. It's original. It's fresh. You put down an art house vampire horror film. Um, I don't know where the horror was because I was laughing way too much.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
I really appreciate the kind words. I've gotten that a couple times, and it's like, I mean, I could sort of see it, like Tarantino has conversational style, but like so does Sorkin, so does Scorsese, like I I like that vibe with in movies where like, unless you're being chased, people, like by zombies, people probably aren't going to be having a conversation in that case, but like people have conversations, right? Like so, I don't know. I just feel like that's sort of natural
oh
when
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
I,
they're hanging
I,
out, they're going to talk about something, right?
and the thing is, what really is this really, before you look at the runtime, and you're a little nervous for it, because it's a long
Yeah,
time. But at the same time, he really lets you soak it in. You know, like this is a movie for sure that you go back to and you watch again because you've been listening. You'll probably be laughing on some part. You might have missed something, so you have to go back and rewatch it to see if you missed anything. Um, and it's smart, and it's. I know a lot of people that would more experienced that would kill to be able to have that talent to write something like this. And the thing is, though, it's like, and this is a beautiful thing too. Whereas a lot of times, you hear people say, "Well, this is, they must have just been cutting loose. They must have been improving." You don't do that. You write your scripts.
yeah, it was a 130-page script, and there is some improv. Uh, so the actors, or several of the actors that I hired are comedians that,
Hmm.
they're touring comedians. They've been around for, well, for a while. They're out there doing their thing, and I wanted to make sure that there were. I mean, because like that's just like throwing away a good thing if you've got people who are used to riffing on stage and you don't let them do it. So there's a few parts like in the I just set aside like a half an hour when we were filming for them to just walk through that antique mall in the in that scene after we'd shot all the dialogue, and I'm like, all right guys, let's have some fun. So they just walked around and picked stuff up and just said funny stuff. I love that scene. I think it's
Yeah.
hilarious. Um,
Um, I mean, it definitely is different. I mean, you don't. I mean, and the thing is, what's really funny about this, what makes this movie for me work so smart, is that it is fact that it is dialogue driven.
Yeah,
Most of the vampire movies I know that are supposedly comedic, they're all slapstick.
yeah,
They're all slapstick. They're all physical comedy.
yeah,
And I don't. It's no disrespect, but physical comedy, especially in a movie like this, that's easy. That's an easy way out.
yeah,
Write that 130-page script and make it sing like you did. That's a challenge. That's
yeah.
a that's,
I wanted to. I was shooting for situational humor, right? Like putting these vampires in situations that are ironic, or
right.
like
Playing
you know,
against type.
yeah, yeah,
There's a few times where they comment on that, going against type. And all the cliches, like holy water doesn't mean shit. It's like that's just made us bullshit. Like it made me laugh. I'm going, okay. uh and then they explain it. They explain, like, well, this is how this is how we, how it breaks down our bodies, breaks down the cells, like that's why we can't get exposed to that. And breaks it down. Like me, I'm sitting there going, like, I've always wondered about that. I mean, I understand the holy water aspect of it, but why does wood stop to kill a vampire? I just never got that. Like, why is it that? Why is that, of all things? And now I know. Hey, Bert, how are
well,
you?
now you know in my world, anyways.
Mr. Burt Reynolds is in the house. I,
What
I
up,
hope
word? Must be
Smokey in the
somebody.
Smokey in the
Must be
bed.
somebody at work or something.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, could be. Yeah, could be some. Yeah. Um, so I mean, now let's because and your cast is really wonderful. You used a lot of the same folks that you did before, which is a smart play. I really like that. You and quite honestly, man, you were great. I mean, yourself, you did acting and directing. Matthew Kinner came on. And Matt, he was awesome. He was
Yeah.
awesome. Um, Now I'm going to
Oh,
ask something. I hope this is, like. But was he poking fun? Because honestly, he came across sounding a little bit like both Blade and Spawn. Like I,
yeah.
I
We
now
were going.
I mean
We were
yeah.
going for that old school, like Dolomite kind of vibe, like.
I, I was wondering about that because I'm going like, damn, he sounds just like Michael J. White here, and we're like, this is awesome. I mean, like, is he doing this on purpose? Because it's working. Because I was dying some of the dialogue exchanges.
Yeah, yeah. We were. That was his character to be like that, like cool, like what I mean. It
and
was
and
fun.
and and, and you passed the test early too, Austin, with Sanguine. And I was a little curious to see how this would play out, and you didn't disappoint me. And it's actually been a big thing here on my channel the last 10 days or so, and we've been talking about nudity in a lot of these in the small independent films, and you have two very beautiful women in your film, and even though they dress really, they're in basically small outfits. You didn't go that route, not even once. I gotta
I
say,
did. I
huh?
did actually. I did actually.
You did,
But it's part of the conversation. It was like part of the dialogue was sort of
but
addressing that.
but you didn't expose them. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Eh,
there's nothing gratuitous. Nothing.
there's one.
Well, I
it's
mean, it
it's
could have been
quick.
it could have been so it could have been so much more, but it
Yeah.
was just so fast, and it was like it wasn't like, hey, look at this, you know.
Yeah. I
you were
was I was
concentrating more on the dialogue and more on the fact that people do seem to be expecting that in vampire movies, or
yeah.
horror movies, and it's like you don't necessarily have to do that, and you don't have to necessarily have to. I mean, because it's hard. You got two, like I said, you got two gorgeous girls. You had a gorgeous woman and a sweet killing machine, but you let them act. You let them have their lines. You let them, we got to know them as people. And
Yeah.
I they added a lot to the. They added a lot. I was laughing at both with Tiffany. I thought she was darling. I thought she was used perfectly.
And did you catch that she played two different characters in the movie?
No, I missed that.
Well, you missed a couple things in there.
Well, yeah,
It is
I'll
one
have
I
to,
think.
like I said, I had to go back and rewatch this. That's what I'm talking about. Like this movie. This movie is not a single watch film. You have to go back, watch it, and we'll come back and watch it again because there's
There's
things
a
that you're gonna miss.
Yeah, there's a lot of little subtle things and irony and little Easter eggs and like conversation things that point to other stuff in there too. So I don't know. Yeah. I think if you watch it a few times, you'll probably catch other stuff and be like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, let's go
Maybe
back. Let's go back to the
maybe I'm giving
genesis of
myself
it.
too much credit.
Let's go back to the genesis of it because you came off Killing Machine and killed it with that movie. That movie is again, it's sensational. I said right before you got here, I was talking about another fellow, one of your peers, a gentleman named Joe Leone, and he'll be here next month. And I was commenting how both you and him are really strong, incredibly strong directors. And what I really like to see, I'd love to see what would happen if someone walked up and gave you like $1 million, $2 million and told you to make a
I'd like to
movie.
see that
I, I just think it would be absolutely amazing to see. Like, what would you guys come up with? Um, and so, I mean, so after Sweet Killing Machine has come out, how has it done? Has it done pretty good for you? I mean, have people has it opened the door at all?
too. I don't know about that necessarily. I mean, it's gotten some views. Um, I probably haven't put the amount of energy I should into promoting that movie. Maybe I don't know. I've gone from one movie like right into the next, and so it's been like this astonishingly daunting, just like go 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 kind of thing. So I really haven't promoted it that much. So I mean, like it's on Amazon and it's on YouTube for people to watch. So it's gotten some views on YouTube, but not like a ton. It doesn't have a million views or anything. I think it's at like 35,000 views or something like that. But um, I've just been like trying to make Sanguine Teeth was a lot of work, and I'm doing a lot of it by myself. I'm getting help, like on set and stuff, and some help with maybe finding things here and there. Um, a friend of mine, Ron, helped me get like the RV in the film, and um, a lady named Charity let me use her cabin for the film. So like there was help doing different things. Doug has been Doug Montoya, who's also in the film, has been very, very helpful with, filming a lot of the filming stuff. A lot of it was filmed um, with just a number of scenes were just like him and I as the crew, and a few scenes was just me as the crew, and then everything that you saw, um, like at the cabin, anything that has um, like all of the actors in it, like Jason Rouse and Charlie Mack and like all the vampires. When they're all together, that was all shot in a 6-day period, and there was
Okay.
a little bit more crew for that. I had another camera guy besides myself and a sound guy, and Doug was kind of helping bounce around between different things that needed to get done. But I did most of the pre-production and wardrobe location scouting, setting up
Yeah,
everything,
I
contract.
saw your name in the final credits.
So it was
I know how many
just,
I know how many times your name popped up.
yeah, it was just a shit ton of work to get
Yeah,
that thing put
like
together.
I'm like, okay, how many times can he list his name on there? Because he must be just like a one man army. Austin Galante, Austin, awesome. I'm like, okay, we get it, we get it. You're a one man machine. Um, but you know, though, again, that's what you did before with Sweet Killing Machine. Your crew was extremely small. Was you? And what was it? You was it just you or one other person? I think one other person,
Uh,
right?
me, me and a, me and a sound guy, Mitch
Right,
Moonster,
right. I
did
remember that.
sound. He ran his camera.
Right.
Yeah, so
It stood out to me. It's like, man, how do you, it's like Dane and Claire Elcar. He did the same thing with Brightwood. It was just him and one other person, and mostly it was just him. And
yeah,
it's amazing to see what one or two people can come up with. It's like you think you have need 30 or 40 people, and it's like it's just you and one other person. That's a lot of work. And you
yeah,
acted in it, and you acted in it again. In
yeah,
fact, I do believe you're on camera here a lot more than you were on Killing Machine.
yeah. I was able to. I'm in a few different scenes that are spread out, so I was able to, shoot those most of those scenes at different times. The whole like the vampire fighting and all that stuff. That was all done at the cabins with everybody. That was really intense because it was so much stuff to do, and, and we were running behind um, pretty much, all of the night stuff because it just took so much longer to get all the action sequences and all the movement because if you watch the scene, there's so many different things happening in different areas of the film. It just took a long time to shoot it all, and I kind of underestimated how long that would take. Um,
Well,
but
the camera, you use a digital camera, of course, right?
yeah,
Now, is it what's it called, a red? Is it called a red model?
no, I shot this with R6 Mark II, um, mirrorless Canon cameras.
Uh, isn't it supposed to make shooting at night easier for you? I mean, digital cameras are they better for nighttime shooting? And is this
Some some are. That's so I have, you know, I'm aware that R6s aren't the best camera in the world, but I had to balance out sort of between all the gear it took. Like all of the gear I shot this with was my gear. I think minus one lens that the other camera guy brought. And so like I'm balancing between getting all of the things I need and paying all the actors and the crew and everything. So I couldn't, like it's like okay, I either get like a super nice camera or you know, the R6 is a pretty darn good camera and it does low light shooting extremely well. So I kind of had to split the difference and get like moderate camera and I'm a lighting guy, so just try and light it well most of the time. I failed a couple times just because of hurrying or whatever. There was one situation where the battery pack for the camera died, and then I just didn't have a light to deal with the situation. So I was like,
oh
you know, it is what it is. You just kind of, I
yeah,
mean,
but
I'm
I mean, isn't that something where after you wrap, isn't it one of those things where you get a pad of paper? Let's say you look at like Sweet Killing Machine. You go like, these are the things I learned from Sweet Killing Machine, and you write it all down, like the stuff that you picked up on, and then you take that, then you apply it to your next movie. Here we are, here we are. I got Sanguine, and now you got two movies. and you write down like, what do I need, like, a better camera at nighttime, like, better model, or or shoot earlier or something, stuff, notes that
Yeah,
you can apply to yet your next movie that's coming up. It seems to
lots of
me like it.
notes. Yeah, definitely lots of notes.
Yeah.
You know, I've already, like going into it, I knew certain things were going to be potentially an issue, and same with the next movie that I'm going to shoot. Like, I'm not rich. I kind of swung for the fences and spent, all my money on making a movie. So, um, and that still isn't enough, right? Like, obviously, I wish I had sky panels and all kinds of, I don't have any 600 um, watt lights. So, and my biggest light is a 300 watt, and then I've got several 200-watt lights. So I have to just sort of improvise with what I've got there, um, and work around it. Um, when especially when shooting outside. When shooting inside, it's not that big a deal. I don't need as big of lights, but it's a constraint, right? And I have to work with it. And people kind of go like, "Well, why don't you get a 600?" I'm like, "Well, because I don't have an extra, $800 just laying around. It's got to go to
Right.
this thing, or whatever." Like, it's a I'm not hiring other people who have their own, equipment and stuff. Like, some people do have their own equipment. Like the other camera guy that worked on Sanguine Teeth, he has plenty of his own stuff, right? But then people charge an equipment or a rental fee, whatever, to use their stuff. And I've been just trying to gather and collect my own stuff so that I can shoot when I need to, right? Like, when I can just schedule it, or I can get together or whatever and do it. And I don't have to worry about, like, oh, so and so didn't show up. Now we don't have mics or whatever, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
so people will say, like, well, just get a better camera or whatever. Like, I hear it a lot. They're
Yeah.
like, well, you should
Yeah. Let
just
me let
get
me
a.
let me pull one out of the rabbit's ass.
It's like, yeah, I suppose I could if I didn't just shoot a movie. Like, it's like a balancing act trying to figure out, okay, what can I get away with? What can like, what's the bottom of the line thing I can buy here to make this pass and still get through it? So
Now,
that's,
that to me, one of the things that, like you mentioned, we mentioned this briefly, but we'll come back to it here. About the promotion part of it. Like you're independent production, and it comes down to basically like, hey, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. Now, I believe your actors will go out there and they'll push the hell out of this movie because it's a good movie.
I
It
hope so.
benefits everybody. You know, I would tell anybody that was in Sanguine, it's like, I would be proud of your work on that movie. That movie is great. To get out there and push it. And it seems like actors don't. I mean, and crew. I mean, yes, what you're a film director, right? So you're not exactly someone out there running around, watch my movie, watch my movie, watch my movie. Uh, I mean, you're out there. Your job is to make the movie, get it completed on time, under budget, and but
I'm
it,
also doing a lot of the, publicity stuff too, like
you know,
setting up interviews and reaching out to magazines, and I'm doing that stuff. I didn't get a ton of response back. I got some for Sweet Killing Machines, but I mean, compared to, like, all the things that I reached out to, maybe 5% respond, right? Like,
yeah, that's a shame.
bigger magazines and bigger news outlets just don't care for the most part. I just haven't made a big enough name for myself for them to be like, oh, let's check it out. Like, I hope this one is good enough that some people will be like, oh, that was cool.
I think they
That's
will. I mean, I think once it gets out there and the word of mouth happens, I definitely feel like people will respond to it. It's smart. This is a very smartly made movie. It's not. It's not. I haven't seen anything like this at all. I haven't seen anything like this. I mean,
I didn't feel that way. Yeah, I didn't feel like I
yeah.
have either. I think it's
I
definitely
mean,
unique.
yes, very unique.
Whether it's
I
good
mean,
or bad, that's another question. I think some people will really like it, and some people will probably be offended or hate it. I don't know.
why? I mean, honestly, why? I mean, you made some legitimate points.
I think
With the
so.
sheriff, I mean, the scene with
Let's,
with Steven Seagal is like that
let's
had
not
me
give
on
any
to
spoilers.
right.
Don't give
But
me spoilers.
no, no. Well, let's just say they have to watch him. And it's like one of the biggest. It's some of the biggest laughs, but it's also
Yeah,
some of the truths too. Um,
yeah.
where did you get the idea to to do this? Was this where did you get the idea to basically I mean come on seriously I mean other than I mean as far as this goes I mean I don't hell even Eddie Murphy when he did his vampire movie he didn't do his movie for laughs he did a straight he made it was a straight run he was like he played it straight. It did
Yeah,
have some comedic elements to it, but he played it straight. I mean, his vampire was, not a nice guy. Ended up, buying the farm or whatever. I mean, it was a traditional vampire movie, even
yeah,
though they had a black lead.
right.
But here, it's totally original. It's like we're gonna put some funny guys in here. We're gonna put a couple of good dramatic actors, and we're gonna go ahead and just cut loose. I mean, let's see what happens. I mean, how
Yeah.
how did you come up with the idea?
Um, well, originally, yeah, I had a couple ideas for a couple of movies. Um, and I was sort of putting a couple other things together, taking notes, putting some story arc together, and um, this one was sort of like boiling as well. And I reached out to the lady that let us film at her cabin and to see if we could film. Would it be okay if we filmed there? And she said yes. And so that was sort of the like, okay, well, what if uh, sort of flip the script on cabin movies a little bit, and like and took a look at so the movie is sort of like taking a look at like making what vampires do, like typically what we see them do in movies, feel more like what like your everyday, right? Like and looking at some of the like the horrid things they do and making them um just like a typical relationship or something. So it's sort of like pointing a light at some of the horrible things, but like, sometimes they're good people or they're good vampires and sometimes they're
Right,
dicks.
right.
Uh,
I,
yeah, so it's just sort of like, well, what if we went and did that? And like, a bunch of my friends are in the movie, are act in the movie. Um, so I was like, well, when I was first putting it together, Matt was going to be one of the vampires, and my friend Juan was going to be one of the vampires. And Juan's cousin is Lavelle Crawford. And so he had asked Lavelle, it was like, hey, would you be interested in being in this movie? Um, my friend's working on it. And well, he said Austin because he knows me, but he said, well, send me the script when it's done. So I wrote the script with Lavelle as the character for Ricky Pete, but I sent the script to him and he didn't like he didn't want to do it for whatever reason. And I don't know, there could be a lot of things there like I didn't have probably enough money to pay him because he can go do one comedy show and make like twice as much as what I was offering him.
yeah,
Uh,
but you know what though it's like To me, I would just sit there and say, take a chance. Here's how it looks. Look, you go out there and you make your coin on stage. Everybody knows that's where you make your money at.
Yeah,
What you're doing here, by doing this movie, you're basically just experimenting. You're pushing your boundaries. You're seeing if you can do it. You're not here to make a lot of money. You're here because
yeah,
it's something new and different and something you can incorporate into your routine. I just got done making a movie and then poke a little bit of fun at it, or
yeah.
recount your experience. I sometimes sometimes actors do that, don't they? Or they
I
they'll
think
sit
so,
there.
but I think he probably looked at this like no name, has never really made a big budget movie or
Well,
anything, and
guess what?
like you're
He
taking
didn't.
a big risk, right? If you don't have any
Well,
idea whether or not the person will ever get it done or whether they'll do a good job
that's
or
true. That's true. But think of it this way, and I say this to him right here. I say to anybody, you were once in that same spot when you first walked up. Somebody had to take a chance on you. Somebody had to let you go up on an open mic and hear your
right,
5 minutes worth of material. Somebody had to take a chance on you. So if you come back and sit there and say, "Well, I don't know who he is. I'm not sure." They have well
I mean,
known.
he knows who I am, but as far as like,
The same questions that he's asking, like unknown director, unknown movie, same, apply that to you,
right,
to him. Like you were exactly where Austin is now, trying to get to where you're at now. I'm
right,
not saying just to do it. I mean, if you don't feel like the material was, fit you. I understand that, but just to dismiss out of hand because like I don't know any of these people in the movie. Well, that's ignorant. To me, it's like at least stay in touch. Like maybe this won't work for us this time, but send me the next one. So maybe we can work together down the future.
yeah,
And so and like you said, I mean, the worst thing could happen is he said no. But
yeah,
at least you went out there and asked him. You didn't sit there and say, what could have been if I just had asked. Um,
yeah.
so
I mean, I think it worked out well. I think Charlie Mack did an
oh my gosh,
extraordinarily good job. He's so funny in the
you
movie,
guys are
and
yeah,
so
that's a funny crew. I
yeah,
tell you who it really surprised me. I mean, in the film, I mean, it's just so many. There's just so many out. There's just so much out there. Like I didn't know any of the. I didn't know any of the some of the other comedians in here. I didn't know who they were, but I thought Matthew playing Damascus was just like I said. I mean, we already talked a little bit about him, but I thought he was just. I thought he was freaking amazing.
yeah, it was great. He really did a good job. He
I
had
mean,
so much. He had so much dialogue throughout when I was writing the movie. I would just like send him a text and go, "Hey, you cool with doing a page long monologue?" And he'd be like, "Bring it on."
yeah. Like how much fun was that? Because he just sat there and he had all that dialogue. I mean, the movie it goes through him. It really goes through him, and I was really happy because I was sitting here going like, okay, you're passing on all and everything from me, and I'm going like, okay, so I just want this to be a warm, funny movie and no spoilers, but I was extremely happy with the choices she made for the end of the movie. I was expecting like, okay, we're gonna see something happen, and I was so pleased to see that it did not happen. You weren't afraid to sit there and say, I'm gonna have fun with this from the start to the finish, and there's not gonna be any last minute, like oh shockers. It's just gonna be fun. And I was
Yeah,
so happy to see that. I was like, because a lot of times movies like that, they always want to throw in something new, something new, something twisty, you know, like one of them turns out to hate the whole group, and or the other one, or rednecks come over and and go vampire hunter on. None of that. It's none of that. It's none of those cliches. It's like four good friends and they're going on a road trip. And I was so happy to see the whole thing go from start to finish without telling you anything about it. Um, did you have any pressure when you were writing the script? Did you always know that you were going to take this from like it was going to be? I think the horror probably would have been in the movie if he had done some of the like he didn't show any killings on camera. I thought that was a wise choice, other than one, and even then it was sort of played for comedic effect, you know.
Yeah, I
Uh, uh,
was I was making some intentional choices not to have a ton of blood, and
right.
but still make it. That's why I'm like I feel a little bit like, is it really a horror movie? I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like, they're definitely doing like horror movie things, but it's never scary. Not once is it
No,
ever
no,
scary.
no, no, not at
So,
all. No, I never got the because the music and then when you met the cast, you saw the two girls. They're all bubbly, and and I was like, this just it just feels like if they didn't know that they weren't vampires, um, you would think it would be just like a road trip movie, just absolutely just laughter. But I like the
yeah.
twist of putting it in there, and that does give it a horror element. I mean, there are a couple of scenes in there that like there is the vampire hunter yourself. Um, uh, uh, um, uh, I sort of wish you would have played a vampire. Did you consider casting yourself as that, or did you always intend to play and
I
very
had
charmingly, by the way, the vampire hunter?
I had thought about it, but I thought that would be too. I thought it would be too difficult to act that much and still because what I have to make a choice, right? Like I either have to pay a bunch of like I have to pay a bunch of crew to do all these things, or I have to do them. And so I really wanted to have there were a number of actors that I had like have known for a long time or like wanted to work with that I did work with or that I've worked with before and wanted to include and stuff. And I felt like being one of the like main characters that's in the whole movie would have been way too hard for me to shoot it on the budget that I had. Um, I had considered making Douglas Montoya one of the vampires, and I I ended up not having him do it and just making it four black vampires all get together just because like I don't know. I just felt like that was like kind of funny and different. Um,
It was, and
in this in this
you avoided all the cliches, like here they are, they're gonna go inside of a bar. Oh boy, here we come. We're gonna see a bar fight, and it's like, no, we're not doing that. We're just we're gonna sit around and again, it's to me that when I'm watching you guys sit around the table and talk, again, you go back to you go back to scenes like the first scene in Reservoir Dogs, where they're sitting around, they're talking about the waitressing and tips. There's four guys sitting around just talking, and I love that. I'm like, there's not gonna be any there are gonna be cliches here. This is gonna be totally different. It's gonna be different. It's gonna have a different kind of vibe to it. It would have been easy to just give into that. Give into that. Like, you just have some rednecks come in there and they whip ass, and it's like, uh-uh. This movie doesn't feel like that. This movie has something to say. It's not an action movie. It's just four friends talking about a condition. Um,
yeah.
some of them. I thought the. I thought some of the. I thought some of the dialogue was just. It's just so stellar. The one friend coming up to the other about that he has a case of vamps. That had me rolling. But at the same time, I'm going like, he's saying something else there too. There's, I couldn't. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, there's something else that he's talking about there. I wonder how many people will pick up on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I had the the whole the only vamps part of the movie. I had the script written and copyrighted like a year and a half ago or something like that. Then I saw about, I don't know if it was maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago, I saw someone's coming out with a movie called Only Fangs, and I was like, oh,
yeah, as a matter of fact, I was I know a couple of people in that movie,
yeah,
and yeah, um, I saw the trailer for it. In fact, they just dropped the trailer for it today, and it looks a lot of fun. It looks fun. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, only things. You know what though? You get on thinking, going like, how long? You're surprised that actually it took someone that long to come up with that. I'm like,
Right.
I've actually been waiting for that. Now we're gonna get other things. We're gonna get only zombies, or only dinosaurs, or
Right.
only dogs, or only things. Yeah, we've had a couple of the actresses in that movie have been on our show, and we'll be again soon. We'll be talking to them about the upcoming film. Yeah. Um, Thanks for coming in, Larry. Uh, uh, so he kept everything really light all the way through. Um,
That was my goal.
yeah,
I was trying
the weapon master that had me
to,
in tears. That had me. That was his inspired shit. So let's talk about that scene. What like who was the gentleman who played the seller? I mean, and to me it's like, how did you keep a straight face uh doing that scene, because he was funny as hell.
uh, that was an added scene at the very kind of almost the last minute almost. It was one of the last scenes shot, and it was because I had I had flown him in. It didn't happen for a different scene, and he was supposed to fly in the day that the FCC, is it the FCC, the FAA, all their computers crashed when that software crash happened.
Okay.
He was flying. So the guy who plays that role is Jason Horton, the horror movie director, Jason Horton. Are
Okay.
you are you
I don't
familiar
think
with
I'm
his?
familiar with this works.
He did Craving, and I mean he's done a bunch of movies, but he just did A Hard Place that I believe comes out in eh, very shortly, or it did just come out. I can't remember. I forget the date. But anyways, um, so yeah, he does horror movies, and I thought it would be entertaining to have him play a part. I hadn't really seen him act before, and I I enjoy, well, most of the time I enjoy having directors be actors, partially because I don't think they get thought of as much. Most people just go like, "Oh, he's a director," but like typically directors, not all of them, but a lot of them like to act too, you know? So like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's kind of fun, like why not? Like, hey, do you want to act in something? And yeah, sure.
Well,
So
look at Hitchcock,
yeah,
or Lloyd Kaufman.
yeah. So there's actually a bunch of directors in the movie. I think there's probably like 10 or 12 or 13 directors in
What,
this
what,
movie.
what, what kind of feedback did you get from them? I mean, here they are, they're doing this movie. What kind of did they give you any feedback? Did they give you any advice, or they just there strictly as talent, and just
They were
look at,
they were there strictly as talent. And they
because
haven't
that somebody, if you're a director on another movie and you're playing and you're talent, you got that inner director is going to get up there and walk up to the other director and say, listen, I have an idea, whether it's unsolicited or not.
Yeah. Uh, I personally generally try not to do that because I think if I know them well, right? Like if we're buddies, then that's a different story. But if I'm coming on someone else's set and there's a director and I'm like whatever role I'm playing, I try to stay at my role and I'm try to make that clear ahead of time just to let them know like, hey, I'm not gonna be giving you, feedback or whatever unless you ask me for it. If you ask me for it, I'll tell you what I think. But um, I don't want to be that guy who comes on the set and is like, oh, you should. I see that. I see
Right,
that.
right, right.
I see people doing that. I'm like,
Mm,
you're being annoying. Um, but no, no. I did see one time where I could tell he wanted to say something, but he kept it in, and, I just found that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, um, yeah, there's a lot of different directors in the movie. I mean, most of them are pretty young directors, but
right.
a lot of them
I
have
mean,
directed
that
stuff.
helps. I mean, and the thing is, though, it's like if they call you for help, or and now all was your whole cast and crew based in Wisconsin?
No, I would say half the crew was from out of state. We had people from Minnesota, Chicago, Atlanta. Two people were from Austin. Two people were from LA. Two people were from Des Moines, Iowa.
Oh, who'd you get from Iowa?
Juan Hooks, the guy who played Alamo,
Okay,
and the uh, Rico Starling. He was like the first guy in the car in the first scene of the movie. The black guy who is robbing the gas station.
right,
Those
right,
guys,
yeah.
those guys are both a couple of friends. Like we've been
Dude,
friends since.
that first scene is fire. The gentleman who played the clerk, yeah, yeah, that was ingenious. He's like that the first scene was just ingenious. And then when you had him say, "Don't come back soon,"
That line there was actually Doug Montoya's. That was his idea on the fly. He goes because he works in a gas station and he works for someone who is of a Indian descent, and so he was like, "No, you got to have him say this," because it was like from his experience of working in a gas station, and that whole scene is actually a true story, and the guy who plays um, Rico, the guy with the pink mask on. It's a story about his dad who robbed the gas station, and he's playing his dad in the scene.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, based on a true story.
Yeah.
Uh, now, how long did it take you to write the script? I mean, 130 pages. That doesn't happen overnight. Um,
Well, I wrote the first part of it in 2 weeks, but it had I'd been like brainstorming it for probably 4 months, writing down ideas and um, at some point I sat down for a day or two and like made the story arc. And then once that was down, I just wrote it. I sat down for 2 weeks and I wrote the script. But I ended up adding another 30 some pages to it after I had written the initial script. I had like a 96-page script and I was like, all right, I've got a story. And then things kept happening that like different opportunities, like, oh, you can, film in this cool place, or, um, you know, opportunity to work with this actor or whatever. And so I ended up adding like 5 little scenes to the movie. Some stuff to like kind of help. Initially, there wasn't a pool scene in the movie,
right.
but I was trying to show that Damascus had a lot of money and was, wealthy and lived in this giant house. So I added a pool scene of him swimming in his house or whatever, just to kind
That
of
makes
like,
sense. Makes sense considering how he said, they asked him how old he was, and going like, yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense. If he's that old, he'd be like, he'd probably be beyond, he'd be beyond stupid rich, by that point.
yeah. So I wanted to show that he was like had a lot of money and doing well or whatever. So that scene kind of got added after the fact. There were a few things where I was like, you know what, this would be funny. Let's put that in there.
Right,
So
right.
I never
Well,
really call a script done until the movie's edited and like cut. Because even while I was editing the movie, I was like, let's add a scene. And
right,
so I went,
right.
wrote and added another scene.
Well, I tell you one thing I was really impressed with, and I wanted to see how this happened. But you got some collaborations for your soundtrack,
Yeah.
including Snoop Dogg. Now, how did that come around? Because when I heard, like, man, there's some talent there. I know I know some of the people in the the score. And I'm going like, well, that's somebody must have done somebody a big favor, because that doesn't come cheap. That's a soundtrack can what be up to 50% of a budget. It seems like. Um, how did you end up
Yeah.
working with Snoop on the movie?
So, same way with anybody else, I offered him, you know, bought a verse essentially is what it comes down to, right? Like paid for it. It's like, you know, I reach out to a lot of different people and sometimes they say no. Sometimes they just don't even acknowledge me. Sometimes, a price isn't agreed, like it just somebody's like, nope, that's too little, right? And so that came about that way, of just paying for a verse. And I'm
I don't see. I mean, you don't have to tell me or anything else, but I don't see him. I didn't see him charging you. I thought he just did it just for the fact that, yeah,
we're just
because it's
old
like,
buddies.
well, no, because it's like, come on, seriously, it's like for his rate during his day and doing what he's doing. I mean, he knows that a lot of independents won't be able to come close to that. But and,
Yeah,
and all and if all it takes is just for a day to come out there, and or half a day to record a couple of verses. I mean, how much is that gonna hurt him to do that? I mean, it's like,
yeah, but when you get to be like when you, I mean, there are a lot of levels, right? But like,
yeah,
so,
yeah,
so I got Robert Lasardo for the next movie that I'm currently working on, right? And he's like pretty well known actor, but
yeah,
when
real well known.
even when you get to that level, like you're busy all the fucking time and everybody's
Yeah,
pulling on your arm and everybody's, hey, come do this thing for me and hey, will you get on this thing? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And like, so if you're not charging anything, unless you're like really good buddies, when do you stop?
yeah.
I
I
know
mean,
they do stuff for charities, but just some random dude like, hey, will you come? There's going to be money involved. I've pretty much not worked with any other. Well, that's not true. There have been a
I just would
few.
say his situation would be different. I mean, I wouldn't go to Robert Lasardo or anybody on his level and sit there and say, "Oh, by the way, can you do this for?" I actually have a Lasardo story. I can tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. I can tell you off camera. And I put a buddy of mine. I put a buddy of mine in a really uncomfortable spot. Uh,
Uh-oh.
um, yeah, but Robert's coming over to hang out with us next month.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he's cool as hell. Yeah, I can't wait to meet him. He seems to be. Have you met him yet, face to face?
I haven't met him face to face. We've had several hours worth of conversations on the phone and text messages and stuff. But yeah, he seems like a nice guy. He seems like a very considerate fellow.
Yeah. He's I was talking about him before he got here, and I was sort of thinking like, man, he's sort of almost like the sort of like the horror version of Eric Roberts. He's he does so many damn movies, and he does them so well.
Yeah,
And did you get a chance to see his film, his first film he directed and wrote
American
and
Trash.
directed? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I watched it. It's pretty good.
interesting movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Interesting
is
movie.
interesting.
I can't wait to talk to him about it because it's like that's that I thinking about that, man. I was just thinking, wow, you think about some of the I just thought he did a great job with it, and what a difficult subject too.
Right.
That takes some stones to do that.
Yeah.
Um, Now, is your movie with him going to be? Is this going to be going back? Is it going to be more action for this film, Austin? Or what are you going to be doing different? And I mean, this obviously is your biggest name as far as acting goes. So this is yet another big step up. Um, how does it feel? What does it feel like knowing that you got somebody like somebody in the level of Robert Lazaro to do a movie? Does that give you does that make you feel more legitimate as as a director?
I mean, it's pretty awesome. I'm definitely excited about it. I don't know if it makes me any more legitimate or not, but
Well,
um,
some people
I'm
say,
still
well,
I'm gonna try to make a movie. um, yeah, I mean, it's super cool, right? Like I remember being a kid watching him in a bunch of stuff. I've known of him as an actor for a long time, so
I
it's
didn't
it's
even,
really
he had one of those. He was what he like went for till this thing about like Danny Trejo. Like you always saw him, but you really didn't know who he was. You just saw him
yeah,
Brian Tobolowsky, who was in all it was he was like he had a face. He said, I know that face. He wrote a book called that. Like I know that face because he was talking about how all these character actors that are always popping up in movies, and basically character actors carry the film.
yeah,
Your movie rides or dies with the character actors.
yeah,
It doesn't ride with the A-list talent. It rides with the character actors.
yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen many a movie where they might have a really good lead actor, but the supporting cast is really weak, and it just takes the whole ship down with it. Um, yeah, but I didn't. I remember, as far as Robert goes, I remember the first time I really saw him like, wow, this guy is good.
yeah.
He
He
did a
is a
movie
really
called
good actor,
he has a
and I
great
want
resume. And I went and looked at it and going like, holy shit, I've seen him in all these movies. It's like I didn't realize that. I'm like, there's like over 200 credits there, and I'm just sitting there going like, oh, I've seen him in that. Oh, I remember that. Oh, like once you start realizing that he's been out there for a long time. Um,
yeah,
but
he has.
what a great actor though to have come on to your next film with that kind of presence.
Yeah,
So without giving any
so
details, of course, what's the genre going to be?
it's sort of a comedy thriller, um, maybe some action. Like it's not like leaping over cars and cars crashing into each other or anything. It's still on a low budget, but um, yeah, it's about two kind of, I don't know, lovable idiots who kind of stoner dudes who live in Milwaukee and do things, and then they end up winning the lottery, and they move to Montana and they decide to move to Montana to go pan for gold. Like they just make a lot of really dumb decisions, and but like there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and then they shit that they did, and Milwaukee follows them out to Montana, and so
Um,
I wrote the character, like his parts, with him in mind. I wrote it after he was on board to do the film, which was pretty awesome that he was willing to say more or less yes that he would do it even before the script was written. I talked to him about it, and I told him like what it was and what we were doing, what we were planning on doing. Things changed, um, from when we first started, but more or less, I was trying to sort of write his character a little different than what I typically see him play.
Did you
So
make him a little bit more of a comedian, more comic?
not 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 in the sense of like him having to be funny or have comedic timing. Maybe some situational humor.
Right.
Um, but I sort of wanted to just make his character a little even though he is playing a hitman, but I wanted him to be a little different, like to be a
Yeah.
little more thoughtful and to
You
try
have to
and
you give him some depth.
yeah,
Because
I was
you
hoping
know
to
most
try
of those times, I mean, most of those actors come in for those 1 day shoots or 1 or 2 day shoots, and their characters are, they're not very well defined in the script. I mean, I've seen that many times. Because
yeah,
most of them are there just for the damn scene. They're just there for one scene, and you really
yeah.
can't get any. So is he one of the two leads or one of the three leads in the movie? So
Uh,
he's gonna yeah
I
he's
wouldn't.
gonna
He's a supporting actor in the movie, but he is. So it may end up being two movies. I haven't fully decided. I'm gonna kind of see what happens when I get it cut, but the script at this point is 145 pages long.
oh my god.
So I don't know anybody who, like if I'm like, hey, guess what, guys? It's 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Like, I
Yes.
don't know. I don't know if anyone's gonna.
Did you
Uh,
is a Sanguine, is that the final cut, what the version that you showed me?
yeah,
Is that your director's cut for Sanguine?
yeah. That's probably what it's gonna be. I did have a sales agent. I, I'm not like I'm not like clamoring to get distribution. If there was some sort of good deal that popped out from somewhere, I might take it, but I wouldn't do it without a minimum guarantee. And in this distribution climate, I don't know that that is a thing without some sort of recognizable named actor in the movie. So I'm probably going to release it on Film Hub again. And you know, it's 2 hours and 14 minutes. Like people watch two episodes of a show all the time. So
I said it before. It sounds daunting.
yeah,
Most of the time, especially for independent. That's one of
yeah,
the things that I'm sure you said you mentioned the sales agent. I'm sure it's probably one of the things he probably told you, like, can you
yeah.
get it?
That's
Can you
where I
get
was
it to
going
me?
with that. Was that he was like, "Can
Did he
you cut
say,
30 minutes of it? 30 minutes of it." He-
yeah,
and he hadn't watched the whole thing. He just kind of skimmed it and checked it out, right? Like he was like, "This looks great." He's like, "I would love to rep it. Can you cut 30 minutes off of it?" And I was like, "Not really."
yeah.
And I explained, a bunch of reasons why, but
Do
yeah.
you
So I
think
was
do,
just
do, do you think streaming allows? Do you think streaming it welcomes longer shot, longer films? I mean,
I
accepts
don't
it.
think anything in our current society welcomes anything longer. I think most people have the attention span of a gnat and they want to look at 30-second meme, reels. But
Shout,
you
shout
know,
out to our buddy, shout out to our buddy JT, aka the Nat.
some people still want to watch a movie, a long movie and get into it and
Uh-huh.
even if sometimes I put on a movie that's 2.5 hours long and I
Sure.
might not make it all the way to the end in the same night, but I'll pick it back up the next night, right? Like
Well, I
so
mean, I put yours on today, and like I said before, what's really, because the rules, generally the rules for independence are 90 minutes.
yeah,
But I have seen them done some the other way too, and some of them have done where it's come out and then it's been like 70 minutes. It's just like, well, it's one stream to the other. It's like
yeah,
70 minutes is really short, but 2 hours and 15 minutes, that's a gamble. It's a gamble.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is a game.
and it's like how well, like you said, well, I think you got your hook. I don't see any problem with people saying, yeah, this is too long. I don't see that. I think the writing and the acting are so smart. It's so damn whip smart that I think people, like I said, it flew by for me. I'm sitting here watching, laughing at, watching it, and the next thing you know, I see the final credits, and I'm going like, "Oh shit!" I didn't even see it coming. Not really. And I was like, "Man,
Yeah,
this flew by." Um,
I
but
hope other people feel that way.
well, how long was Killing Machine?
That was an hour and 11 minutes.
Yeah, so I seem to remember that it was small.
Yeah, it was pretty
So
short.
yeah.
But I
Now,
mean, I shot that movie for $2,000, so had to
well,
keep it a little shorter.
uh, uh, yeah, and well, you definitely your budgets are going up. I mean, that's for sure. Um,
Yeah.
is it harder? Do people ask that now? I mean, is that one of the concerns of, as you start prepping your next movie? Do people, when you start trying to raise the capital for that, um, I mean, is that a concern? Is it starting to become easier? People the first two movies that come out. Um, is it gonna be?
Well,
Do you feel like?
nobody's seen this movie, so I mean, you're like the second person to see this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I thought so too, because I went over and looked at the IMDb. It said 12 critic reviews, and we're like, oh, I thought, well, he's been really busy, because he gave the movie to a lot of people. And then I went over there, and all I saw was they weren't reviewing it. They just put your press release cut in
yeah,
there. It's like you didn't review the movie. It's like
yeah.
you need to go
Just
back there and watch it. And I'm going to do my review for it. Either tonight or tomorrow. I don't do reviews before I do interviews.
yeah.
So just in case I said, well, it really wasn't my cup of tea. That way I don't get beat up. That way I don't want Damascus sitting on my front door.
Right? Yeah, no, I just at this point, and I've been kind of waiting. I wanted to make sure that I got to do an interview with you like right away because you were so gracious to do, I think, the first interview for the last one.
Yeah.
So I was wanting to return that, you know, come.
We've been talking about this too. It's like we've been talking about the rise. It's really fun to watch the people rise, like yourself and Joe Leone and actors, like Tiffany and Matthew, and it's super fun to watch that, and I absolutely I just think I have so much respect for the process for how you guys do it. I don't know how you find, like, to me it's like like um like I already know how you found the cast and Machine. But how did you find some of the supporting cast, like you were talking about all the directors? Now, I think I asked you this, the first question is like, in Wisconsin, is there a film community here? And you mentioned it was a small one. Um, has it grown any since you started making films, and starting to get them out? I mean, nothing attracts talent by results. Like, yeah, Milwaukee's got going on. They've had like in fact, on one of the websites I looked at, they were talking about how many movies were being made in Milwaukee, and they had a little list of 4 movies, including one of yours. And they had a little blurb there saying these are the movies that are currently in production, shooting around town. I thought that was actually pretty genius.
Huh, yeah. There's a lot of actors, I think, running around. There are some productions. I don't know. Um, I know Swift Sloan is definitely he's making. He's made a number of features. He's been doing it for 15 years, I think. So he's got got his thing going. There are a few other people out there that are making. there's a few other full length movies out, but there's not a lot of full length features. I don't think in Wisconsin. I think there's probably more in Chicago. Well, there's definitely more in Chicago. But how I found the other actors, or that I cast, was mostly by doing a lot of legwork, going through casting sites, which um, I'd sound kind of stupid. I did put out, uh, I think two or three castings for it, just to see what I might get. What people might
Did you
apply.
go through? Did you go through like a casting website, or did you go through Facebook, or?
Yeah, I went through backstage casting, and I got like 600 uh, submissions for the movie, but a lot of them were in other states, in other cities. Like a lot were in New York and LA. Um, I
Yeah.
did cast somebody off of one of those, and they ended up sort of flaking at the last minute, like
Oh, what the?
week
Oh, what?
the week before. But I had gotten I've
Oh,
sort of got a little bit of a radar for bullshit, I guess.
yeah, yeah,
And you know, not always, but I was starting to get the feeling of like, eh, you're not communicating like a person should communicate if they're really serious about this. So I
right.
I started looking for someone to backfill for them, and
Is
then
it one of those things where it's like, it's sort of like what they say, the your eyes are bigger than your stomach. You see a
yeah, it could
cake and your eyes get all lit up, but your stomach's only so. I think
be.
that happens to a lot of actors, right? I mean, they jump before they look. You know
Yeah,
that you really wish that you could take someone like that aside. I mean, as a director, and sit there and say, I mean, I really, it's like it's really because I mean, to me, I was watching I was watching a director in one of my groups, and she was really upset. She had gotten all the way up to, she had done all her pre-production and everything else, and she made a last day, last night effort to, I mean, phone calls, her on her cast and whatnot, just to touch bases, saying, okay, we're all good for tomorrow. You ready? You ready? Hype up, hey, here we go tomorrow, our first day of shooting, right? And and lo and behold, the next day, that's the person who she had talked to just that very night before, bailed on her, and
yeah,
she wanted to know, like, should I put her on blast? Do I call her out on that bullshit? And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm sitting there going, like, I haven't, I'm no director. I'm not in the business. But I just said the first thing I would do if I was you is to call, make sure she's all right. You know, I get that here sometimes. Well, hell of a lot more than people realize. I get, it can be frustrating. It can
Yeah.
be frustrating to, like I made a mistake when I gave you the 30th.
Oh
Everything
yeah.
else I wrote down was the 29th. Everything, all my calendars and my promo, and then I realized that I said the 30th. You could have sat there and said, I thought you told me the 30th, like you did, and I could have just
Yeah,
been
I
really,
just
I
want
could
to
have,
make sure that because it
right.
was fine either way, but
But
I just wanted to
imagine
make sure. I didn't want to like start getting ready to log in today, and then you're like, oh no, I meant tomorrow.
no, no, no. I saw that. I want, like I have everything else was done. Like, and I want, like, wow, how the hell did I do that? I dropped the ball on him. And I'm thinking, well, thank God I didn't have any of the cast, like this didn't affect any of the cast. This might have been their one day to do the show. I might not be able to get them the next time. So to me, it's like it's one of those situations where I have to be really careful. I got to, and if let's just say that you came back there and you said, well, you said tomorrow, I can't do tonight because you said tomorrow, and then I get all upset and put you on, put you on blast, and the next thing you
Right.
know, someone comes over there and says, so I saw you light me up. I'm just curious, you're gonna light yourself up and show what I said. That would just, that would make me look like a total horse's ass. And there's been times where my attitude toward this is I just want to make sure they're okay first. After they say they're okay, like they're not hurt and parents are okay, then I might put a little boot to it, but not that much because they didn't have to do it at all. Uh,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it shows a lack of professionalism too. If you go ahead and because it could hold up your production like it did hers, and
Yeah.
every day in production is money. It's not like, well, we'll just go ahead and start tomorrow. What about today? Today, all that money wasted today.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't typically like put anybody on blast. I just don't work with them again. I just go like, okay,
right.
well, I guess I misjudged you and moving on.
Yeah.
I got other shit
Especially,
to do.
yeah. Especially, well, I'm just saying, it's really strange. Someone would do that from New York. It's like that'd be one of the places I would not want to get that kind of reputation. Do you get warnings from directors, Austin? I mean, do you get that once in a while? Do people call you up there and say, "Hey, um, you know, um, and they have your well being in mind. They're not doing it to spite anybody. But let's say you do you do a casting call, and there's Joe Smith on there, and someone notices, because Joe's been talking on online. Yeah, I got a new part in Austin's movie, and do you get warnings from directors saying, "Hey, I saw you cast Joe Smith. I just want to let you know that he didn't show up for my production." And just want you to be aware of that going forward in case he flakes out. He could flake out on yours.
I can't
Do directors do that?
I
Heads up.
can't I can't think of an example like off the top of my head. I have been yeah, I mean some sort of like actors especially seem to be very talkative about everyone else. So I do hear people, say stuff about other actors or whatever. There's a lot of opinions flying around out there, right? Like, maybe somebody had a bad experience with so and so or whatever. I sort of just take it as a data point, and I don't, it's hard. It's like then you have that thought in your head, like, well, is this, but like sometimes people are just spiteful. Sometimes people are, they don't understand the full picture. Maybe they didn't, maybe their interaction with them happened in a certain way and it made them feel a certain way, but they don't realize there were other things going on that influenced whatever. So I take it as a data point. Um, I don't think I can recall any time a director ever like it specifically messaged me and said, "Hey, just so you know, that guy doesn't show up." But I also probably have a shitty memory. I don't, I do know I've heard people say things about different, you know, it's usually actors though,
Mhm.
to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
it's funny because all the people that we talk to, I have never heard anybody bring out the axe on anybody. Um, at all. Even when we talk privately, I have never heard anybody just bring out the axe on anybody. And
Yeah,
it's like it's so cool. It's like I've always admire that sense of community. Um, and going all the way through that, and then this week, I don't know what it is about this week. This week's been upside down. But then I heard that for the first time. I've heard that, you know, um, some places could be, some areas can be a little vindictive. Some of the talent can be a little vindictive, and I'm like, it's like I know it's out there. It's just
Yeah,
like
I
a
think
lot of people think. I think a lot of people do their best. They like to cover it up, and I'm not
yeah,
so sure when it comes down to a production if that's the best play. It's like like I would never I wouldn't want 100%. I mean, that's the reason why I guess that's the reason why a lot of directors use the same talent, so they have to put up with
yeah,
that bullshit, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
I'm
you
sure
know,
their next movie has a part for Matthew in it already, right?
yeah. Well, he wrote part of it. He wrote the first part of the movie, so we came up with the story arc, and then we were like, all right, you go write the first part, and I'll write the second part.
Nah,
As far as like the vindictiveness goes, when like I hear it sometimes on set. I just hear actors talking. You know, I hear them.
I can hear Steve.
I don't. They may not. Maybe they don't do it when they come to your show so much, but it is. I don't love it. I don't dig it, to be honest with you. It
Yeah.
sometimes influences me to, you know, maybe not work with certain people just because
Mm.
I don't really like.
Well,
I know
so far, like I said, you're 2 for 2. I wouldn't change a damn thing on either one of your first 2 films. And
I appreciate it.
yeah, I can't. I will be having a lot of fun with my review of Sanguine Teeth. Where did you get the title for the movie? The title's a little bit of a mouthful too. Where did you come up with the title?
It is a mouthful.
Yeah.
Uh, I probably went through 40 different titles for the movie. Um, and I narrowed it down. It's just trying to find something that I felt like fit for it. My wife didn't like it. She was like, it sounds too pretentious. I don't know. I just like how it sounds. I like how it rolled off my tongue and it fit, like they're vampires out driving through the driftless roads of Wisconsin. So I thought it made
Well,
sense.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're just. I mean, at this point in their lives, I mean, there's nothing anything going to be new. They've already been just about everywhere there's been to go, to go to, especially Damascus.
Yeah.
All right, it is time to wrap this up. I've hit my button. Wow, what can I say other than thank you again, Austin, for coming out
Thank
here
you.
and talking all things Sanguine.
Thank you for all
It's a
the kind
joy. It's
words.
a hell of a movie. A
I
lot of
hope you
people.
can convince some other people to watch it.
I
Feel
will
that
do
way.
that. You know what we'll do when you release it? When you release it to the general public, this is what
Yeah.
I can do. When you release it to the general public, you can come back and we'll get a couple of the cast members. We'll grab Matthew and Tiffany, and we'll come back and we'll do a watch party.
Okay. That sounds awesome.
Um, that's what we've been doing. We've been doing it here lately. We've had filmmakers. We had a filmmaker just last week, Tremaine Hayho. He was here and he talked about his film Simp. We've had director, screenwriter Michael Cassie on to cover his 2 movies. And yeah, we've been doing that a lot lately, and it seems to be a lot. It seems to be a hit. A lot of people really get an idea of what it takes, and hearing all those different stories during the filming of the movie. So, are you going to be taking this to festivals, or are you going to release it to the general public? How are you going to handle the release of Sanguine?
Uh, it has been submitted to, I think, about 25 kind of bigger festivals. Um, but most of them don't notify until later in the year, which is kind of a bummer because I really want to put it out before then. And I think I very well may put it out. I think I'm going to put it out probably in July, and then you know it is what it is. I wanted
Are
to
you,
submit it to more festivals, but I've got to save my money to make this next movie because it's coming
right.
so quickly.
Are you going to
So
make hard copies of this? I mean, are you going to make like DVD copies of this, or will it strictly just be streaming only?
possibly, we'll see. I've got to get through shooting the movie this summer, and then I'm gonna sort of like take a little bit of a, not like a break, but just sort of like collect myself and um, I'm depending on how well the movie does in streaming, right? Like if I make some money back from it, then maybe I will do DVDs, but I'd like to recoup some of that money.
Yeah, yeah, that would be helpful.
It was, kind of a stretch, but it
Well,
was a stretch.
when you would decide to release it, like on streaming or on YouTube, let me know, and so I can go ahead and I'll activate. I'll put that down in the description box and let people know where to find the movie. Uh, and of course, this is Austin's second visit with us, and I'll put your first visit down with us in the description box down below as well. And yeah, I thank you so much for coming on here and thinking about us to do this interview. I'm so happy to do it, and I really enjoyed the movie, and I can't thank you enough for sharing it early. Uh, uh, Tomorrow night we'll be back here with English actress Alina Desmond. Will be here with us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. She is a rising English star. She has done a lot of those fun fairy tale movies. Like Piglet and Blood and Honey. And We're going to be talking all things British horror with her tomorrow. Don't get her mad. She's got her wicked right. I'll tell you that much. The girl can swing. She can bring the noise. We'll be here with her tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And then Thursday, Stephen, if you're still here, you'll be happy to hear this. Stephen, on Thursday, May 1st at 8:30, half hour past our normal start time at 8:30, we'll be welcoming in singer-songwriter Brian Elder will be here with us, country singer Brian Elder with us. And we'll be talking with him about his career and his music, and even dabbling in some movies. He's been known to strap on a 6-shooter once in a while. And that's what we got for the rest of the week. Um, Thank you to everybody who came out and supported this interview. I appreciate it. Though I know you could. I know everybody stays out late during the summer. So I totally get that. But come back and watch this and drop a comment or two, and we will see you, Austin. We'll probably be seeing you sooner than later
Yeah,
for a watch party. All right. To the chat, thank you so much for being here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. We'll see you tomorrow night. Austin, stay right where you're at, and everybody else will say goodnight right here. Peace.
thanks for tuning in.